Greetings and a warm welcome to the Tasty Cooking Creations channel. As your culinary guide, I'm here to embark on an exciting gastronomic adventure with you. Today, we're going to delve into the art of crafting a unique and delicious dessert, the Fruit Medley Baked Alaska. This tasty treat is a symphony of flavors and textures, combining sweet, fruity notes with creamy ice cream and a fluffy meringue topping. So tie on your apron and prepare yourselves for a delightful culinary journey. To start with, gather all the necessary ingredients. What we'll need for this delightful Fruit Medley Baked Alaska is a vibrant array of fruits, a creamy ice cream, a fluffy cake base, and a light, airy meringue. Let's start with the fruits. We'll need a medley of ripe and juicy fruits. Think strawberries, blueberries, kiwis, and peaches. The combination of these fruits will provide a burst of fresh and tangy flavors that perfectly balance the sweetness of our dessert. Next, the ice cream. A high-quality vanilla ice cream is what we're after. The creaminess and subtle vanilla flavor will contrast beautifully with the tartness of our mixed fruits. If you're feeling adventurous, you could also opt for a fruit-flavored ice cream to double down on the fruitiness. Moving on to the cake base. A simple sponge cake works best for this recipe. Its light and airy texture will absorb the fruity juices and ice cream, creating a deliciously moist base for our baked Alaska. You'll need flour, sugar, eggs, and a touch of vanilla extract to whip up this component. Lastly, the meringue. This is where our dessert gets its iconic look. The meringue is made from egg whites and sugar, whipped to glossy peaks. It's like a fluffy cloud that encases our dessert, and when it's baked, it becomes a crispy shell with a marshmallow-like interior. Apart from these main ingredients, you'll also need a few essentials like sugar for the cake and fruit mixture, a bit of lemon juice to brighten up the fruit flavors, and of course, your favorite type of sweet wine to macerate the fruits. This small but significant addition will elevate the fruit flavors, making them even more pronounced and delicious. Remember, the quality of your ingredients will directly impact the taste of your final product. So choose fresh, ripe fruits, high-quality ice cream, and free-range eggs for the best results. Now that we have all our ingredients, we can start with the preparation. The first step involves making the cake base. This is where our Baked Alaska journey truly begins. A good foundation is essential in baking as it is in life, and our cake base is no exception. It's like a blank canvas waiting to be filled with the vibrant colors of our fruit medley and ice cream. So let's get started. First, we'll need to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius for those preferring metric measurements. This allows our cake base to bake evenly and achieve that perfect golden brown hue. Now let's move on to the ingredients. We'll need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of sugar, and a half cup of unsalted butter at room temperature. We'll also need 2 large eggs, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Finally, we'll need half a cup of milk and a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract to add a touch of sweetness and depth. To start, we'll cream together the butter and sugar in a large mixing bowl until it's light and fluffy. This process incorporates air into our mixture, giving our cake base that soft, spongy texture we're after. Next, we'll beat in the eggs, one at a time, ensuring each one is fully incorporated before adding the next. This helps to create a smooth, even batter and prevents our cake from becoming too dense. Now it's time to add our dry ingredients. In a separate bowl, we'll whisk together the flour, baking powder, and salt. Then we'll gradually add this to our butter mixture, alternating with the milk. Remember to start and end with the flour mixture. This method helps to ensure that our cake base is moist and tender rather than tough or dry. After that, we'll stir in the vanilla extract. This will give our cake base a subtle hint of flavor that perfectly complements the fruit and ice cream layers to come. Once our batter is ready, we'll pour it into a greased and floured cake pan. We'll then bake it in our preheated oven for about 20 to 25 minutes or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. While our cake is baking, we can enjoy the sweet, comforting aroma that fills our kitchen. This is one of the many joys of baking: the anticipation, the wait, and of course, the delicious result. After our cake is done baking, we'll let it cool completely before moving on to the next step. This is crucial because if our cake is still warm when we add the ice cream, it will melt. Patience, my friends, is a virtue. And there you have it, a perfect cake base for our baked Alaska. It's light, fluffy, and ready to soak up the flavors of our fruit medley and ice cream. But for now, let's set it aside and move on to the next exciting step in our Baked Alaska journey. Next, we move on to the ice cream layer. This is where our Fruit Medley Baked Alaska really starts to come alive. The ice cream layer will be a fruit medley symphony of flavors, making your taste buds dance with delight. First, let's talk about our choice of ice cream. For this recipe, we're going to use 3 different flavors to create a beautiful and delicious contrast. We'll be using raspberry, mango, and vanilla ice cream. Each flavor is going to bring something unique to the table. Raspberry with its tart sweetness, mango with its tropical flair, and vanilla with its creamy, smooth texture. To begin, we need to make sure that our ice cream is a little bit soft. Not melted, but soft enough to spread easily. Leave it out at room temperature for about 10 minutes. Now let's start with our first layer. We're going to use the raspberry ice cream. Scoop out generous amounts and begin to spread it over our cake base. Be gentle. We don't want to disturb the cake. We're aiming for a layer that's about ½ an inch thick. Use a spatula to spread it evenly. Once the raspberry layer is down, it's time to put our cake back in the freezer. We want the raspberry layer to firm up before we add the next layer. This will prevent the flavors from mixing and ensure we have clear, distinct layers. This should take about 15 minutes. While the cake is in the freezer, let's move on to our next flavor, the vibrant mango ice cream. Again, we want it to be soft enough to spread, so give it some time to sit out if necessary. When the raspberry layer has firmed up, take the cake out of the freezer. Now it's time to add our mango layer. Scoop out the mango ice cream and begin to spread it over the raspberry layer. Try to keep this layer the same thickness as the raspberry layer for uniformity. Once the mango layer is spread evenly, it's back to the freezer for another 15 minutes. Last but not least, it's time for the vanilla ice cream. The vanilla will add a beautiful contrast to the fruit flavors and tie everything together. Soften the vanilla ice cream and prepare to add the final layer. Once the mango layer has firmed up, bring out the cake and add the vanilla layer. Spread it evenly, just like the previous layers. With all the ice cream layers in place, it's time for the final freeze. This time, we're going to leave it in the freezer for about an hour. This will ensure all the layers are firm and set, ready for the next steps in our Fruit Medley Baked Alaska recipe. And there you have it, a beautifully layered cake base with 3 layers of delicious, fruity ice cream. The colors, the flavors, the textures, everything works together to create a dessert that's not only visually stunning, but also incredibly tasty. Now we have a beautifully layered cake and ice cream base. Our baked Alaska is starting to take shape, but we're not done yet. We still have the meringue layer to go, and that's where our dessert will get its signature fluffy cloud-like topping. So stay tuned as we move on to the next exciting stage of our Fruit Medley Baked Alaska recipe. While our base is freezing, we'll prepare the meringue. Now, the meringue is essentially the fluffy, white cloud that sits atop our baked Alaska, providing that delightful contrast in textures that makes this dessert so unique. The process of making meringue might seem a bit intimidating, but fret not. With a little bit of patience and precision, you'll master it in no time. The key to a perfect meringue lies in the stiff peaks. These are formed when the egg whites are whipped to a point where they hold their shape, even when the bowl is turned upside down. It's these stiff peaks that will give our meringue its volume and structure. To begin, you'll need 4 large egg whites at room temperature. The temperature is crucial here, as room temperature egg whites whip up to a greater volume than cold ones. Add these to a clean, dry mixing bowl. Any speck of yolk or moisture can prevent the whites from whipping up properly. Start beating the egg whites on a low speed, gradually increasing the speed as they become frothy. Once they've reached the soft peak stage, where the peaks just fold over when the beaters are lifted, it's time to slowly incorporate the sugar. We'll need 1 cup of superfine sugar for this. The finer the sugar, the easier it will dissolve into the egg whites, ensuring a smooth and glossy meringue. With the mixer on medium speed, add the sugar a tablespoon at a time, making sure each addition is fully dissolved before adding the next. Patience is key here. Rushing this step can result in a grainy meringue. Once all the sugar is added, crank up the speed to high and whip until you have glossy, stiff peaks. This can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Now for that final touch of sophistication, we'll add a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar and a 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. The cream of tartar stabilizes the egg whites, preventing them from deflating, while the vanilla adds a subtle hint of flavor that complements the sweetness of the meringue. Blend these in on a low speed just until they're mixed in, and voila! You've made your very own meringue. You'll know it's ready when it forms stiff peaks that stand upright when the beaters are lifted. And it feels smooth between your fingers with no trace of sugar granules. Remember, meringue is a delicate thing. It doesn't like drastic temperature changes, so it's best used immediately. If you need to wait, cover it with a damp cloth to prevent it from drying out. With the meringue ready, we are set to bring everything together. So, let's move on to the next step. Assembling our Fruit Medley Baked Alaska. The adventure continues! Now comes the exciting part, assembling our Baked Alaska. So, we've navigated our way through the cake base, the frosty ice cream layer, and the fluffy meringue. And now, we're standing on the threshold of the final frontier. It's time to bring all these elements together and build our Baked Alaska. First, we need to retrieve our cake base and ice cream layer from the freezer, where they've been patiently waiting. The cake should be firm and the ice cream solid. This is crucial because if the ice cream is too soft, it will melt under the meringue and we'll end up with a Baked Alaska soup, which is not what we're aiming for. Now let's bring in our meringue. Remember that cloud-like consistency we worked so hard to achieve? It's about to pay off. Using a spatula or a spoon, start spreading the meringue all over the ice cream and cake base. Think of yourself as a sculptor, and the meringue is your clay. The key here is to cover every inch of the ice cream and cake base. Why, you ask? Well, the meringue acts as an insulator, keeping the cold in and the heat out. It's like a protective shield that will keep our ice cream from melting when we put it in the oven. Yes, you heard it right, we're putting ice cream in the oven. Mind-blowing, isn't it? As you spread the meringue, be sure to create peaks and valleys. This not only makes the Baked Alaska look more appealing, but it also gives the meringue different areas to brown, adding to the flavor and texture. Once you've got a good layer of meringue all around, it's time for the final touch. With the back of a spoon, create swirls and peaks on the meringue. This will give your Baked Alaska an artistic, almost whimsical look. It's your masterpiece after all. And there you have it. Our Baked Alaska is assembled and looking quite impressive if I do say so myself. The cake base, the ice cream layer, and the meringue all in harmony, ready to go into the oven. It's a sight to behold, isn't it? Now I know it seems a bit counterintuitive to be putting this frozen dessert into a hot oven, but that's the magic of Baked Alaska. The meringue will become golden and toasted while the ice cream stays cold and creamy. It's a delightful contrast of hot and cold, soft and crunchy, sweet and tangy. With all elements in place, we are ready for the grand finale. So take one last look at your creation before it takes its daring journey into the oven, because when it comes out, it will be a transformed, glorious version of its former self, ready to dazzle your taste buds. Stay tuned for the next scene, where we'll witness the final act of our Baked Alaska adventure, the baking and serving. It's time to bring the heat, literally. Now that we've assembled our Fruit Medley Baked Alaska, it's time to take things up a notch. The next step is to bake this beauty until the meringue is golden and perfectly toasted. This is where the magic happens. The heat from the oven will cook the meringue, but the ice cream inside will stay cold. It's a fascinating process that results in a dessert with a delightful contrast of temperatures and textures. First, preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You want it nice and hot to ensure the meringue browns quickly without melting the ice cream. It's all about balance. Once your oven is heated, place the Baked Alaska on a baking sheet, just in case any ice cream decides to make a daring escape. Slide the baking sheet into the oven and keep a close watch. This isn't the time to start a new episode of your favorite show or get lost in a book. You want to keep an eagle eye on your dessert because the meringue can go from perfectly golden to burnt in a matter of seconds. After about 4 to 5 minutes, when the meringue is golden and slightly crisp, it's time to take it out. Remember to use oven mitts or a thick kitchen towel to protect your hands. The baking sheet will be piping hot. Now, here comes the tricky part, serving. You want to serve the Baked Alaska immediately after it comes out of the oven. But you also need to slice it without squishing the layers or making a mess. The best way to do this is to use a knife dipped in hot water. The warm blade will glide through the dessert, giving you neat slices without disturbing the layers. Place a slice on a dessert plate, ensuring you can see the beautiful layers of cake, ice cream, and meringue. The contrast between the cold ice cream, warm meringue, and room temperature cake is what makes this dessert such a delight. This is also the perfect time to get creative with the presentation. You could drizzle some fruit sauce on the plate, sprinkle some powdered sugar on top, or garnish with fresh berries. The choices are endless, and the final touch is all up to you. As you dig in, take a moment to appreciate the symphony of flavors and textures in your mouth. The sweet and tart fruit medley, the creamy ice cream, the soft cake, and the crispy meringue. It's a combination that's hard to beat. And voila, a mouth-watering Fruit Medley Baked Alaska is ready to be savored. This dessert is not just a treat for the taste buds, but also a feast for the eyes. It's a showstopper that's sure to impress anyone who gets a taste. So go ahead, enjoy your creation, and don't forget to share. Let's quickly recap the steps for those keen to try this recipe. We started with an introduction to our ingredients, the building blocks of our Fruit Medley Baked Alaska. We highlighted the importance of fresh fruits and quality dairy products, as well as the necessity of fine granulated sugar for the perfect meringue. Our journey then led us to the creation of the cake base, a simple yet essential foundation for our dessert. We emphasized the importance of beating the butter and sugar until it's pale and fluffy, then gradually adding the eggs, ensuring they're thoroughly incorporated before adding the flour. This gives us a light and airy sponge that complements the rest of the layers. Next, we delved into the preparation of the ice cream layer. We discussed the art of creating a custom blend of Fruit Medley ice cream, a symphony of flavors that truly set our Baked Alaska apart. The key here was to freeze the ice cream until it's firm enough to hold its shape, but soft enough to spread, a delicate balance that requires a keen eye. Our journey then took us to the realm of meringue creation. We whipped egg whites to soft peaks, gradually adding sugar until we achieved glossy, stiff peaks. This meringue is not only a delicious topping, but also a thermal insulator that protects our ice cream from the heat of the oven. The assembly of our Baked Alaska was a step that required careful layering. We started with the cake base, followed by the ice cream layer, and finally, the meringue. Remember, it's crucial to seal the ice cream completely with meringue to prevent it from melting in the oven. And finally, the grand finale, baking and serving. We baked our dessert at a high temperature for a short time, just long enough to brown the meringue but not melt the ice cream. We then served it immediately, revealing the delightful contrast of hot meringue and cold ice cream, a sensation that is truly unique to Baked Alaska. And that, my friends, is how we created our Fruit Medley Baked Alaska, a decadent dessert that is as fun to make as it is to eat. It's a testament to the magic that can happen when you combine simple ingredients with a bit of creativity and a lot of love. Thank you for joining us on this delightful culinary adventure. Until next time, happy cooking. Before we wrap up, a quick reminder. If you enjoyed our Fruit Medley Baked Alaska recipe and want to explore more delightful culinary creations, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We have a whole host of exciting recipes and cooking adventures lined up for you. From tantalizing starters, hearty mains, to delectable desserts, we've got you covered. Your journey into the world of cooking doesn't have to end here, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us on our next culinary journey. Until then, happy cooking. Before we say goodbye, a quick reminder. We hope you've enjoyed our delicious journey today, and there's so much more to explore. If you're eager to delve deeper into the world of culinary arts, remember to subscribe to our channel. We've got a smorgasbord of tasty creations waiting for you, from the simplest of appetizers to the most elaborate of desserts. And it's not just about the recipes, it's about the joy of cooking, the thrill of trying something new, and the satisfaction of creating something wonderful with your own two hands. So why stop here? Continue your cooking journey with us, and let's create more delicious memories together. Until then, happy cooking, and don't forget to subscribe. The adventure in the kitchen is just beginning.